And a good Sunday to you from Lone Star Park at Grand Prairie. I'm Jim Byers alongside Rick Lee. It is Texas Showcase Day. We've got a bunch of stakes starting early. We've got a stakes race all the way up in the fourth race today, Rick. And then throughout the day as well, races 6 through 9 are also stakes. It's going to be fun. We've got some Texas breds, and unlike some years when you see these state-bred stakes days where there's really one standout in each of the races that are now back against their own state-bred company, I really think all of these races today have at least two and frequently more really solid contenders. Looks like a good day today.
Yeah, it's going to be a real good day today, and it's a hot day too, as we talked about earlier. So
it's hot. There's no doubt about it, but not too hot to race. So on we go to the first. $6,250 maiden claiming fillies going 5.5. Scratch number 5, it's Personal Un. And there's a carryover of $2,978 in the high 5. You know, Rick, I noticed you went with Mine Redemption in here, claimed out of her last start. This race was such a headache inducer for me to try to get confident in the winner. I tossed her completely straight out of it. So that really worries me when you have a filly on top that I'm not even using. Scares me quite a bit.
Yeah, these trainer changes. I mean, you got a horse going from Milligan to Broberg. It's taking a lot of money right now. This one was Asmussen, Mine Redemption, the filly I'm taking. I mean, it's obvious that her best race wins this race today. I can make pretty good excuses for the last two races. A turf race going 2 turns where she actually was battling for the lead for 6 furlongs. Last race was 7/8 of a mile in the mud, showed good speed and just backed out of it. Claimed by Steve Rubion. He adds blinkers, shortens way up to 5.5 furlongs. She's been competitive at all sprint distances, so it's a tough call. Obviously, we'll see if I'm right about the line, but I think she's the best horse in the race, so I'm sticking with it. The 8 Hatchet Girl was 2-1 last time out at a similar condition. Contested the pace, finishing second that day. The winner, Prospera, was the post-time favorite. And then I also like that she drew an outside post. I always prefer if there's multiple speed horses to be the one furthest to the outside. And the 6 Tapit Right, who's taken all of the early money, has finished third in 4 consecutive races, has shown good speed in each, backed out in each race. Ellen Milligan, who does a fine job, claimed by Broberg. Broberg a lot of times wins with this type, but to me, she's being badly overbet at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, she's developed an odd, if coincidental, habit of running third, no matter where she's been placed, whether it's here, whether it's on slop at Oaklawn, whether it's dry at Oaklawn. Probably just a quirk of the way the races ran. But I have her as a third selection, too. I went with Hatchet Girl on top. I love the way she broke last time. She really popped the gate in a 12-horse field last time. Led, till some point in relatively deep stretch, and then Prospera just drew off. I mean, she had a length lead in the at the upper stretch at the stretch point of call and wound up being beaten almost 4 lengths. But she, in turn, was 3 lengths clear of Tapit Right. So I just think that Prospera was the filly for that particular day. I'm going to give Hatchet Girl a shot to go all the way here. I mean, Mine Redemption is a concern on the front end, but I decided, she might be too short a price, whatever price she is. And obviously she's not getting any attention early, but I think that's because there's not much money in the pools yet. My second pick is the 2 Star in the Sky, 5-1 on the line. I think she's going to prefer this more abbreviated distance. She pretty much backed out of it last time at that $7,500 level, which is essentially this level here. They just kind of lowered that bottom a little bit, I think. And if you go back to some of her earlier races and a couple last year at Golden Gate, I mean, I don't know. I think her best race could put her in this mix. So I was tired of Mine Redemption, even though we've only seen her once. So I didn't use her. Probably should have used her somewhere, though, to be honest.
It's hard. You can't find a filly who's past a filly in this field. When you go down through there, the advantage, I think, for Star in the Sky is she's used to having dirt kicked in her face a little bit at least, and still has kind of ran on. She might be the most logical horse, just as we talk about each filly in this race.
Yeah, exactly. On to the second race. Steve Asmussen has a couple in here. Neither of the ones in here that he has have been what you would call stellar performers at their respective levels. Maiden special weights here going 1 mile. And I see you avoided the filly that I avoided as well. I picked this Captain Beyond last time, which was one of my worst picks of the year, not because of her, but because I passed on a real jewel who was a cinch, as it turned out. But nonetheless, we both are going against Captain Beyond, which I think could prove to be wise. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we hope so. The 3, What's News? It seems like this is the day. I mean, this field, it didn't come up especially strong. She's been well bet, and she's raced well. I mean, her debut was a sprint on the slop at Oaklawn. Was 1 pace that day, but a solid performance. 2 turf races since then, finishing 3rd twice, again, forwardly placed. I believe a fast dirt track is probably her best lick anyway. She's got the 2-turn experience for Asmussen. She was 3-2 last time out in a good effort. 6-5 seems reasonable to me today. Captain Beyond, the other Asmussen trainee, who did earn the field's fastest Beyer figure in a fast track 2-turn race at Oaklawn in April, earning that 64, which is 2 points over the Beyer par here at Lone Star. Caught a muddy track last time in the race. Jim tried to be a genius, picking Captain Beyond, but
I came well short of that. And the thing is, she earned a good fig on April 22nd, but I went back and watched the race. I didn't even like her performance on April 22nd. I just thought, turning back to 7/8, she might run a little bit late, and her stablemate, a real jewel. I wasn't sure if she wanted to go 7/8, but I overthought it.
Yeah, she was 3-1. Yeah, she was 3-1. It's not like you were touting a 10-1.
Exactly.
But you weren't alone, is my point. 31% though, Cabrera Asmussen combined over the last year and a half. So really a go-to rider for Steve today, and draws the rail, so should get a good ground-saving trip. Duchess Bubbles for Ellen Milligan is my 3rd selection. Just likes to hit the board. 6 in the money finishes from only 10 tries. Should give a good late running effort, I would think, today.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, if she can relax and finish, she should. I've got her 3rd as well. It's odd. I picked both What's News and Captain Beyond in their last races on top. What's News I picked over Jedediah. That turned out not to be a very good selection either, but you don't know going in. They were both fairly well backed, as you mentioned, and What's News ran okay behind Jedediah on the turf last time, so we'll see how she takes to the main track. But I kind of agree that this might be her day, so I went 3-1-4 as well. On to the 3rd, non-winners of 2 claimers here, 7/8 of a mile.
Yeah, I like the 7. This to me is another, it's a contentious race. This horse ran well for Norm Cassie, at Fairgrounds Churchill last fall. He's a really high percentage, really sharp horseman. Was claimed by Sarah Delaney, who brought this horse from New Orleans to Lone Star Park, tried turf with this horse, even though the previous turf race wasn't very good, and again, disappointed after a very wide trip. I just like the fact that I think this horse is best sprinting and coming from off of the pace. It just seems like 7/8 of a mile might be perfect, drops down to $7,500. So, and the work too, May 28th at 101 is the fastest of 8.58 breezes that morning. So I think Sarah's got this horse spotted to win, looks good in the mornings. I'm going to take Smart Call. How do you say the 6 again?
The 6, Sournois.
All right.
That's how I say it, at least.
Well, that sounds good to me. This Adelis Keene trainee runs primarily on turf and seems to slightly better on turf, but is dropping to the lowest level of his career. And if you look at his breezes, he works really good on the main track. So he hasn't had many chances on the main. The last one was at Remington. That was around 2 turns. So I'm not so sure that's indicative of how he'll run on dirt. Dallas does a really good job. I think this 5-year-old's got a solid chance in here. And the one, Ramah, is 10 straight in the money finishes sprinting, but not a single win. That's a little bit troubling. Is in at his typical non-winners of 2 for 7,500. Doesn't have a lot of early speed, but again, loves to run 2nd or 3rd. Yeah. So you've got to use this horse in your multi-horse wagers, but to win, it's just a little more dicey.
Same thing with Sournois, really. Between the two of them, they've run 50 times, and they have 2 wins. Now, they've made some money, and they both have a lot of in-the-money finishes. But, yeah, and the thing about Ramah, I used him second. I think he's back at a level where, he can be competitive. He's dropping back down to this level where he's been, reasonably competitive before. Is those Delta sprints were 2-turn races, those 6.5s. Kind of curious to see how he takes to one turn. It seems like he can finish decently when he goes one turn. He finishes some at Delta going 2 turns, and that's a tough call because of the short stretch there. But I took smart call as well. I mean, I think he's at home on dirt. They've run him a couple of times on wet, a couple of times on turf. Now he gets a dry, fast track, which seems to be his lick. He competed reasonably well at Fairgrounds, Churchill, places like that, Keeneland. If you can compete there, you can probably compete anywhere. So I took him over Ramah. Gumbo is my kind of intriguing third pick here. Comes out of a race just last week, but Ronnie Cravens adds blinkers. Statistically, that's a pretty good number for Cravens, and I thought his race on the turf last week was pretty good. He was 30-1. He just kind of ran around there. He beat 4 or 5 of these, or 4 or 5 opponents that day, and stranger things have happened.
Yep.
I decided to pass on Surnois, even though I agree that he's one of those that's always
that
figured.
1 for 33 will get you sometimes.
Well,
you don't want to pick that to win necessarily.
I broke my rule on that the other day and got a winner out of that.
did.
Was it my Slutang clan pick or one of them
That's
that was
right.
one for whatever?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
I'm not bending the rules though for him, but we'll see how it goes. Got a scratch out of the 4th. This is the first of our stakes, the Texas Hall of Fame, mile and a 16th on turf. Scratch the 4 Gunners Celestic Man, which takes a considerable amount of speed out of the race, but I don't know with this bunch if that really makes a lot of difference. You still have Beta Lake coming out of a sprint who's fast, and I don't know with Sunlit Song that it really matters one way or another.
No, probably not. Beta Lake should be cruising on the lead. It's just is he good enough to beat a field of this quality? The 6 Sunlit Song, especially at Lone Star Park, man, she loves this turf course. She's been amazing. She's won 5 of her 8 races. She's a stake winner this year. Last year, she won the Remington Green, which obviously is a non-restricted, the best top turf race I think they run at Remington, but was a winner there. Just a win machine, 10 career wins, and he's always a pleasure to clock because he gives it all in the mornings too. I mean, he's a phenomenal workhorse and loves to win races. Clearly the favorite, but again, it's even money. So if you want to try to beat him, there's options in here. Mujab Jr.
Yeah.
He's finished in front of Sunlit Song, before. It's not like he's never done it before. Was narrowly behind in the 100K stake at Houston, 1 length behind Sunlit Song in that race. The Minnekiel race, where he finished second, beaten ahead last time, was a fast race for that field, that allowance tune-up. And Redatory is, he did upset last year at Lone Star Park in a turf stake. As you can see, he was actually favored over Sunlit Song, which is kind of amazing looking back. A year ago, he went favored and defeated Sunlit Song. But he's been in not such good form at Houston, but it looks like, looking at his PPs, he prefers this turf course, kind of like Sunlit Song.
Yeah.
They both love to run over the course right here, and he'll be a lot better price.
Yeah, he will. And I mean, like we say, he has beaten him before. I mean, he's a tough old campaigner, and Alan Dupy does a really nice job with him. I like Redatory's work tab as well. I went Sunlit Song's way. I mean, I pick him every single time anyway, and for good reason. One thing I like about Sunlit is I think he's learned to sit and finish. And, he used to be a pretty one-dimensional speed type. I mean, he used to be one that come and catch me type, more or less. He doesn't have to be as forwardly placed anymore, and that's really helped him. I took him over Mujab Jr. and Redatory as well, but it's a good race. For a shorter field, there's some good contention. It's always fun to watch those guys run because you're going to get good, honest efforts out of the 2 horses we picked second and third, and they can beat Sunlit Song if the day is right. Now let's move on to the 5th because we've got video here of Bordeaux Red. Now this horse had a nice maiden win on April 23rd, followed that up with his first 2-turn effort on May 28th, and that's what we're going to watch here. Now Bordeaux Red is the 2 in this race, and the Bandit Swanson is going to be the 10. Bandit Swanson's in behind with the white blinkers, a path off the rail in that second flight. Let's go ahead and roll it. Bordeaux Red is going to be up on the outside here, 3 wide, and he's going to battle for the lead here through the stretch. Now watch Stuart Elliott kind of throws him over on his right lead here as they get toward the finish. The horse we're watching is number 2 on the outside. There he goes over to his other lead. He's going to run second in this spot. And then the 10 is Bandit Swanson, who comes back for another go here. Social Afleet was in that race as well. The thing I liked about that was that winner that day was wire to wire in that race. Verrazano first. Bordeaux Red was chasing him. He was second all the way around at every call. Changed leads late, but it was his first time going a mile. They bet him hard that day. That was a really wide open race. They bet him down to 5-1, and I was surprised that he was that short. And I just think he has a chance to come back with that experience, and he's worked since then, too.
Didn't you pick him that day? I felt like you said I'm using your angle.
No, you know what?
2 sprints in a route.
You know what? I didn't pick him, but I think he was the one we talked about. It was the last race of the day, and we haven't even mentioned the Asmussen horse.
Okay.
But I picked somebody else, but I'm forgetting who it was.
Okay. Probably wasn't Verrazano first, so you'd remember vividly.
No, and it wasn't rocking a hard place either.
Me either.
It was somebody who was off the board. But that was a super wide open race.
It was. But, Bordeaux Red going from a 5/8 sprint at Delta to a maiden special weight win here at Lone Star at 6, then stretches out. That was a terrific race. May have been a little tired. That might explain why he was on the left lead so long. I think he was probably a little tired. And he was drifting out a little bit, too. And that's when Elliott kind of lifted him up like Pinkai used to do and get this horse to switch. So if he can improve off that 2-turn effort, which I'd assume he would, he's so lightly raced, then he'll be tough to beat in here. Far from a cinch. There's plenty in here, like the 6 Social Afleet. Finished not very far behind Bordeaux Red in that May 28th race you just saw the replay of. That was his first race under the training of Caldwell. If you look at his races over the winter at Fairground, the 3 straight stake races, I mean, the buyer figures there are much better than what Bordeaux Red has earned to this point. So with the what I'd call a positive rider switch, I mean, there's reasons to believe Social Afleet will turn the table today. And I think the one back shot, I actually liked Available Star.
Back shot is out, by the way. I'm sorry.
Back shot's out?
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
the wrong one out, or are they both out?
Just the plain one is out.
Okay, that's my fault then. That's my fault.
I believe just the plain one is out. Back shot. I should have said that at the beginning.
Okay, well, he ships up back shot from a really nice allowance win, restricted allowance at Evangeline around 2 turns, a terrific race. So off really good form. When Broberg has an entry, he scratches 1 like most good trainers. It seems like they leave in the 1 doing best this morning, which makes perfect sense. So he certainly likes to win. He's won 4 of 11. The figures, again, are very competitive in here. So Available Star from on or near the lead, is, again, a logical threat.
Yeah, he is. I didn't use him only because he's a freak-out performer in the mud. And, his dry main track form certainly puts him in with these. But he's also not the most consistent animal that's ever come down the pike, even though his best races are very good. So I put them aside, and I went Bordeaux Red, Social Afleet, and Bandit Swanson, who we can see in here was almost 7-2 in that last race with those other horses, but he was the favorite in that race. So that really is a wide-open race. And to me, Bandit, I mean, he's just one of those. He's going to catch a field. He tags them all one of these days. And, when he does, he'll deserve it. Dino's Cape is intriguing, too, because he was really stopped by some major, major trouble in the stretch last time. I mean, he was blocked and checked, and he basically was completely stopped in that race, much like the horse in the last race yesterday that got stopped by the second-place finisher. So I don't know if Dino is this good, but I threw him in there for 4th.
He's interesting because Paul Duhon claimed him, and he must have loved him when he got him back to the barn because you go from a $4,000 claimer into a $34,000 allowance.
Yeah,
so Paul wins enough races. He doesn't do this just to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously thinks he made a really good claim.
It's an ambitious spot, and that horse has been the darling of the claim box. He's been claimed 5 of his last 6 outs.
Yeah.
On to the 6th. This is Colson Gelding. Scratch the 1 on my list out of this race. 5/8 of a mile. And, boy, I'm really anxious to see this Tengo Mis Papeles. I have my papers run, I should say, in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I like the way he's trained. This gray colt for Calhoun. I actually, he's worked. I've been here for all three of his works. The first one, May 27, 47 and 1. I gave it one of my higher marks there. I really liked the work. Came back in a set of three again on May 28th, 47 and 3. Terrific. Broke him off behind horses that day, which I find interesting. He set two in front of him. He broke off behind them, circled them, and drew off. So that was a really good schooling. And then he came back in that 48-4. My mark was easy. I mean, the other two that worked with him, I didn't make that same mark. But so this horse is trained for a horse that I think they're real serious about. They must really like him, and he's my top pick in here. Bodymore Heath is pretty fascinating. He showed a lot of promise in a really fast move on April 22nd. The gate work, I really liked his gate work. He worked by himself May 22nd, the 48 and 4. What I find interesting is that all of his workouts were for Pish. Now he's running for Gustafson. So, obviously when a horse hasn't raced, I don't know who owned the horse. I mean, I don't know. Probably Sam Sherman has owned it. But I just find it interesting that all of a sudden he's in the Gustafson barn.
Yeah. I always associate Sam Sherman with Pish as well because I think he has tweeted some victorious videos of Pish stable winning. So there seems to be an association there. Pish trained the Dam, swifter than Taylor, who won 7 races, was 7 for 19. This horse was really highly regarded. He was a vet scratch early, not on the track, but an early in the day vet scratch on May 28th. And I think it's odd that he hasn't worked since. Not out of the realm, but maybe because there was a trainer change. I didn't go back and see who entered him on the 28th of May. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah. And then the two picking up strangers is the Pish horse that's in now. He's bred top and bottom for speed. Danny wins with a lot of 2-year-olds. I did not see his works, but they look really good on paper. And again, with his pedigree and with Pish's pedigree, actually of winning with unraced horses, I got to give him a good look. But I just feel like Calhoun, the way he's been training this horse, I think he's really high on him.
Yeah, it seems to be. Not much to go on the Dam. Of Tango Mis Papeles. Rudita, she had one other unraced foal, and Rudita ran for Pish as well, was 1 for 4 in her brief career. I've got the 4 on top of the 3. I went with the 5 Pinky Ring Bling third. She got off really, really poorly last time, really slow break, and wound up running third. I just think maybe with an out, I don't know, I ranked her third, but I'm sure, you make a really good point about Pish's filly in there. Okay, on to the 7th. Scratch the 10, Light Up the Devil. This is the Danny Shiflett Scholarship, Lane's End Scholarship Purse. Really wide open race, and oddly enough, we both end up on a horse that's 12 to 1 on the line.
Yeah, and I think for the same reason that we thought there was just a ton of speed in here. So it was a time to pick a filly who, when she runs her best race, she fits with these.
Yeah.
I mean, she was beaten only ahead by I'm a Discreet Smile at Houston on March 20th. She was 6 to 5 that day. Since then, a couple open races, so she's run against Open Company. This is a restricted stake, and she's raced well. The figures aren't that strong, but she's proven in this type of company when things work out well for her from a pace perspective. She fits with these. I picked Miss Perfecta second. Loves the distance. Look at that record. 5 wins from only 9 starts. Just loves it. Has been in the Jose Silva barn for a long time and has raced extremely well on turf races in Minnesota. Came here to Lone Star Park, is now in the hands of trainer Steve Asmussen. They wanted to prep on the main track here. On turf on May 20th. It was washed off, won by 11 lengths. So I think Asmussen's probably really happy with what he sees from Miss Perfecta. Already a proven and really nice turf horse. And for Steve, just blows them away on the main track. So I think she's probably doing really well. And then I'm a Discreet lady who, she's terrifically fast. She's a stake winner here at Lone Star Park, and she's won. She's been in exacta 4 of her 5 career turf races. Her last race was very disappointing on the main track, but front running turf, she's a bear.
Yeah, she is. With her, it's interesting to see, will she get back to her normal form we're used to seeing back on the turf, or has she really tailed off? That was a 3-horse field that she ran a distant last in on May 20th. Now, She maybe didn't like the main track. I mean, typically she's done well on dry, fast tracks, but I don't know. I didn't know what to do with her, so I didn't use her. I was really hard on horses today. I dropped some really logical horses right out of the selections. Figure if you're not going to pick them on top, go with somebody else. But I'm on No Mas Tequila as well. I think the race sets up for a closer. Now, there's a ton of speed in here, but watch one of these speedsters get out there on an easy lead and go wire to wire. That could happen. It could be Miss Perfecta. I mean, I don't know if she has wire to wire speed, but we'll see how her Turf Paradise and Canterbury good turf form plays here. Might play very well. She looks really, really salty on paper, but I'm going to try to beat her. So I went 3, 8. My third pick is Corluna, who won this race last year over some of these that are back, like Herb's Love and G-She Sparkles. Corluna's had a poor year, and she gets a terrible post, but, she can come from out of it, too. So, I mean, if the race collapses pace-wise, she could come from out of it, but she has the worst of it. But I spread way out in the pick 4 in this.
It's interesting that Corluna always took money, and then this last time, it's like the public finally gave up on her, and she didn't run very well either. So, she'll have to really rebound. But you're right. Her best race and the pace should be perfect for her. Yeah. So no excuses really today if she's right.
Yeah, we'll see. I decided to throw her in at 20 to 1 on the line. On to the 8th. These are fillies, the Texas Stallion Stakes division at 5/8. And we both end up again. It's like we handicap side by side, which we don't do. But Eagle Express is the pick in here.
Yeah, I mean, this horse was narrowly beaten in her career debut here on May 14th. Simpson's had a good work. It was 7 1/2 lengths back to the third place finisher. That was a really good career debut. Now draws once again outside. I think the post will be just perfect. The chart says raced a little bit green. Maybe in a second start she'll be a little more professional. It's a G thing. That the one did get a slight buyer figure edge, drawing off to win by 3. That was a restricted maiden special weight race, so the competition may not have been all that great, but nevertheless, a sharp win, and second-time starters often, improve, and certainly she may not have to improve much at all to be a repeat winner. And Wicked Strong, this one's been working with the horse Tango Papeles of Calhoun's.
Papeles,
yeah, in that set of 3, she's always been second best. So I think it's a good set of 3. She's just not up to the caliber of the Colt. But based on the works, I think she has talent. And it's not like the 2 that have raced the 47-43 buyer. I mean, we've had 2-year-olds here running in the 60s and 70s already. So this may not be an especially strong field, and if that's the case, Wicked Strong could win this.
Yeah. No, I agree. Not much to go by on her dam side pedigree. Wicked Perfection, the dam of Wicked Song, was unraced, and Wicked Song's the first foal from her, so we don't have a lot to go by there. I have the same top 2 picks. I threw in the 8 Mysterious Star as a third pick. Looks like she's working pretty quickly for Diodoro. Draws outside. She could be good. That barn's really heated up.
Yep.
One thing I might point out about Eagle Express, she is a half to a couple of horses we've seen around here, Quarterback Dak and Valid Decision, both of whom have won races around here. Maybe not spectacularly, but so there is a little bit of winning history in that pedigree. On to the 9th. Really good sprint here, 6.5 furlongs. Wayne Hanks Memorial, always a good race. Some really good contention in here, and it shows last year in this race, Rick, Direct Dial was 3-10, won the race by open daylight. This year he's back, and he could win again, but, man, this looks like a much stronger group than he faced last year.
Yeah, it really does. I went with Mr. Moneybags this year. If you just look at his main track sprints recently. In the Thanksgiving, he finishes third. Nitrous, Manny Wah, they are exceptional sprinters. Earned a strong buyer figure in there. In the fall, the Dave Vance, which is a really premier regional turf. I mean, I don't keep on saying turf. It's sprint. Finishes third once again. Earns a strong number. Wins a stake at Houston last year with a triple-digit buyer figure. He has some turf races that kind of cloud the fact that his sprint form recently is in the past year, has been exceptionally good. So I'm going to take Mr. Moneybags, who, again, is 8 for 13 on a fast main track. It's an impressive record. Direct Dial, for the reasons you mentioned, wins this race last year, multiple stakes winner, seems to love Lone Star Park. and ships up here from Oaklawn after a so-so effort. Worked May 31st. That's a good work. Second fastest of 11. I got to believe this horse for course is going to run very good today. And Shifty Henry has won 6 of his last 8 races. Started off cheap. I mean, he was running for $5,000. He has just worked his way up the class ladder, has exceptional early speed. And, boy, when horses get that winning attitude about them, sometimes they can be tough to beat.
And, he was disqualified last time. It was for an incident early in the race. Crossed over to the inside and bothered most of the field on the way. But, it was a situation where, you just can't cross over in front of the half the field. But he still ran a terrific race and switches riders today off that mishap and is going really, really good. I just, it'd be interesting to see him run another huge one against these types. Mr. Moneybags, I think it's worth pointing out, May 22nd, they try him going 2 turns on the turf. He broke fine, in my opinion, and was taken back. It looked like a conscious decision. Let's take this horse back and make a run with him. And, he didn't make a huge impact on the race. But for a main track sprinter who's earned triple-digit Beyer sprinting, he actually did come on, in my eyes, pretty well for a main track sprinter going a mile on the turf. I mean, he did come up and rally wide. I mean, not nearly enough to make an impact, but was only beaten 3 lengths. By the likes of Mujab Jr., and that's not even his game.
Right.
So that may have been a little bit of a prep for this because, it was his first out since November. I think back on the main track, and he's come back and worked since, which I really like, and he's worked fast. So that looks like the real sprinting Mr. Moneybags worked on June 6th. So we'll see if he's as good as he used to be. He used to be really good. So I'm going to go 4-3. I mean, Direct Dial, he's such a good, honest horse. It's just when he's faced non-Texas breds, the results have been a little bit mixed. And then I threw Bobby Brinkley in there for third. He gets back to a sprint. He likes the main track. And his form has involved some other types of races that cloud his form just a little bit.
Yeah, and I will say Mike Netherland did use, after a layoff, a turf to dirt race before the David M. Vance, too. And it seemed to work really well there, too, because he ran a terrific race. The field was just so strong.
Might be worth pointing out, both the David Vance and the Remington Green used to be 100 granders. They had to chop the purse significantly last year because of the purse cuts at Remington because of COVID and the casino being shut down. So if you see that $60,000 purse, remember that used to be 100 grander. So on to the last. Scratch the 7 Sun Striker, maiden special weights, 5/8 on the turf. Good way to wrap up the card. Not a stake to wrap it up, but I think there's a lot of contention in this last race.
Yeah, I love this race. I picked the horse I laid 6-1 on the rail, Justin Spite, who, at Oaklawn debuted April 10th after showing some really serious workouts. Broke okay, rushed up in there and set a rapid pace, and then faded. I can excuse any horse like that first time out. Has trained real well here at Lone Star Park. He's bred to turf. He's bred to love 5/8 of a mile. I just feel like from the rail, if he breaks cleanly, he could post what I'd call a mild upset in here. Viatorum, I wanted to beat a favorite like this one as exits consecutive second place finishes. And I know he did have traffic trouble in mid-stretch, may have been best that day. It's just gelding I'm willing to try to beat. He is a 5-year-old with only 3 career races, so that's always a bit of a concern.
He's proven to be beatable. I mean, I picked him on top, but he's kind of a trial horse. If you beat him, you win the race. He did have significant trouble, though, I thought, at about the 3/8 last time, too. He was fighting Luis all the way up the backstretch and into the far turn, and then had traffic trouble in the furlong pole as well. But, yeah, he's not the most reliable favorite.
Yeah, because he did run second in a maiden 25, too, the previous race. So, I'm just not convinced they think he's a legit, entry-level allowance if he wins today. But nevertheless, and Rockdale, at least his turf sprint was at Fairgrounds in a big field of 10, was forwardly placed, beaten less than 5 lengths, earned a solid figure, tried 2 turns, moves to the Gustafson barn from a good barn, Ron Fouché into Gustafson, but, Austin's doing nothing wrong over the last couple seasons, so this horse could improve, and if he does, he'll be tough to beat.
Yeah, I agree. I used him second. I fell for Viatorum here only because I thought he did have some fairly significant trouble down the backstretch and into the far turn. He didn't look particularly comfortable inside there. Seemed to be keen to go on, and Luis was trying to get him to settle, and then he had to check him, and then he had all that trouble in the stretch. And he was still only beaten a half length by Khaki Jack. I mean, he may run that same exact race again today and run second again. But I took him over Rockdale, and Mega Tap, who had a really puzzling journey last time, dropped way back and then came on a bit in that Brad's Time race. I mean, Brad's Time might be really nice. I couldn't leave Asmussen out of this. I have your Justin Spite fourth. You know, now that I look at it a little more carefully, I wish I had included him in the pick 4. I think he might need to go 4 deep, at least in this particular race, but I didn't want the ticket to be too big. So that's the only race where we differ on our top picks. So
Yeah, that race at Oakland was at 6. If he gave a buyer figure for 5, it was probably a 60 because he was really stopping in that last furlong. So nevertheless, though, he still has to take to the turf to win, but I think he will.
You know, he's coming off a little bit of a layoff, but he has worked as recently as June 4th. So yeah, it's good wide open race. And well, best of luck. We've got 10 coming up here on this Sunday. Some good stakes action and some other good races as well. Got a carryover in that 6-shooter of $12,773 as well. That jackpot pick 6 on the final 6 races of the day. For Rick Lee, I'm Jim Byers. Thanks for looking in, and good luck.